But for Nate's necessary notes, we're going to do the same old thing. Week 7 recap. And this is the thing, Nate. We have said, hey, look, Justin Fields, that's the man you got to go with. Your team's winning with him driving the helm. And then you said, look, it might be a business, but Mike Tomlin announced Russell Wilson as a starter before the season, and he's got to stick with his word. So he decides to stick with his gut, with his word. He names Russell Wilson the starter against the Jets this Sunday. And at first glance, we were like, this isn't the right move. There's no way this is happening. Because you just got to stick. What I said, you got to stick with what's hot. You got to stick with the man that you're winning with. And Mike Tomlin was like, no. You want to see something? Let me show you something real quick. Steelers beat the Jets 37-15. Russell Wilson, he goes 16 for 29. A 55% completion percentage and kind of iffy. 264 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns in the air and then 1 on the ground and just 3 carries. One of his carries was a touchdown. 3 total TDs for Russell Wilson on the day. Mike Tomlin make the right decision, Nate? What are we thinking in this game?
You know what? What we're going to say is we're going to say, yeah, he did. We're going to say he made the right decision. But also, he announced that Russell was going to be a starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. So you have to honor that. You have to give this man an opportunity. Now, were you winning with Justin Fields? Yes, you were winning close games and tight games, but we never seen the offense take another step. Monday night, we saw the offense take a step. And when I say take a step, you had George Pickens that had over 100 yards receiving. You had Najee Harris, who had over 100 yards in the ground. What Russell Wilson did was gave that offense balance, and that offense was able to flourish. And again, Russell is good in so many ways, especially when you got a good running game where it opens the play action, and the play action is what's going to open the big plays, the chunk shots, the explosive plays, and he got that, and Pittsburgh got that, and it was a good showing. Now, that's not to deter anything that Justin Fields has done, because he has started very well in place of Russell Wilson. Yet for this team and this opportunity, Russ took it, and you need Russ under center. You need him to be playing well, because in that AFC North, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, that division over, I think a year ago, put 3 teams in the playoffs. So it's a competitive division. You got to be able to maintain and hang with the pack. So I think it was a great call, great move. And just, again, don't put too much into this game, because it's one game. Consistency is the key word when playing sports. Consistency. Can they consistently get better week in and week out?
And I think you're right, because even though Russ had a touchdown on the ground, we saw the passing offense get a lot better with him under center. And that's one thing we take away from it. I'm still kind of conflicted on the decision. Obviously, you're right. Consistency. We need to see what Russell Wilson does from here on out. This is what will set him apart. Because now you have somebody that has set the ball right here. And Russell Wilson right now is barely playing above it. He's above the standard. If he stays above the standard, he needs to still be the starter. But when you have somebody as experienced as Russell Wilson, and this is the mindset as Mike Tomlin. I'm going to tell you what the mindset of Mike Tomlin is. We basically went to the playoffs last year with just a defense. We had no passing game whatsoever with small hands Kenny Pickett. So when you go to the playoffs, you not only have a passing game now, you have somebody who has made multiple deep runs in the playoffs, been to multiple Super Bowls, and even has a Super Bowl win to his name. That is your mindset if I'm Mike Tomlin. I now have a guy that can take me deeper into the playoffs instead of losing first round like we did with the Bills last season. Mm-hmm. And I applaud it, because now he's sticking with his gut. He's a man of his word. I respect that from Mike Tomlin. And we're going to see what happens. Can the Steelers make the playoffs? Yes. They're either tied in their division or number one. They were number one going into this week. But I honestly, Nate, I thought that whole division could have made the playoffs this season. But the Bengals have just come up. They've come up short, it looks like. And I don't know what to think. But if we're sticking with AFC North, another game I want to talk about is the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Monday night. And I love the outcome of this game. 41-31, Baltimore gets my division rival out the way for me. So the Saints still have a chance.
But you want to know something? That game right there, I saw two good football players go down. Two guys I had the privilege of competing against. Seeing Mike Evans go down, but seeing Chris Godwin go down, that really just sending
less than a minute left of the game.
Sending condolences to the Godwin family, speedy recovery. Let God just heal you, brother, and come back better than ever.
That's one thing I do want to ask you, Nate, which is what I was going to touch on. Do you think sending out Chris Godwin with less seconds left of the game, less than a minute left of the game, a minute's on the clock, he's fine. There's no dislocated ankle or whatever he suffered. I think he's dislocated his ankle. There's nothing wrong with Chris Godwin. You as a coach decided that you wanted to keep your starters in with the minute left of the game. You're not coming back from this with seconds left. There's no way. This isn't the Chiefs and the Bills with 13 seconds. It ain't gonna happen. You ain't gonna send overtime. I'm sorry. Do you disagree with the decision to keep Chris Godwin in when you're already down by 2 possessions with that less of time on the clock?
Yeah, Coach Bowles is my mentor. I don't agree with that moment right there. I don't, because Chris got hurt. This is the game, and it's just this happens, and I don't agree with it, but it's just you feel for him.
And you have to. And we saw really good quarterback performances. Baker still has an interception problem this season. He looks like Jameis Winston back when Jameis Winston went 30 for 30. He's looking similar to that. He's throwing really neck and neck touchdowns and interceptions. But Lamar Jackson, Nate, that's who I really want to talk about. And I know some people in the comments are going to go crazy over this. 17 for 22, Nate. 77% completion. He went 281 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. With 9 carries, he had 52 yards on the ground. And this is a stat I want to show you. In 84 starts, Lamar Jackson is tied at second place for the most games with 5 passing TDs and no picks. 84 starts. You know who he's tied with? First of all, he's tied with Aaron Rodgers, who's still active, with 231 starts. But he's also tied with Peyton Manning. I think he's tied with one more guy. I don't want to say it. I don't want to miss. Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben. That's right. He's tied with those guys in 84 starts. Each of these guys have over 225 starts as a starting quarterback. Lamar only has 84, and he's already got tied for second most. Patrick Mahomes isn't even on this list, and we're saying Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest of all time when his career's said and done. But this is what I want to say. Obviously, at first place, you have Breeze and Brady tied with 8. I want to give you Lamar Jackson's MVP seasons and ask you what you think about Lamar winning his 3rd MVP. Obviously, I didn't agree with the MVP last year. Thought Dak had better stats. He played better. But if Lamar has the best stats this year, I don't see why he shouldn't win MVP. So back in 2019 when he won his first MVP, in the first 7 games, he had 1,650 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks, 63% completion. Okay? 2023, 16-10, 13 tutties, 3 interceptions, 71% completion. Now, Lamar Jackson is at 18-10 for the season, 17 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions, and a 68% completion percentage. So you get a little bit better. Your touchdown to interception ratio is fantastic. If he keeps it up, we've seen quarterbacks win MVPs just on their touchdown to interception ratio. Think Matt Ryan, think Aaron Rodgers, think Peyton Manning. All three of those guys have won an MVP really based on their touchdown to interception ratio, based on their efficiency on the field. We're seeing it with Lamar Jackson right now. Is there a chance that Lamar Jackson, obviously there's a chance. What do you think about Lamar Jackson winning his third MVP?
Man, if the numbers are proven and that he's MVP, he's the MVP. Let's just he's gonna having that having that regular season success. That's great. I mean, but we know the real season and your legacy is in the playoffs. Now, I know for a fact he would rather have more success in the playoffs. He'll trade one of those regular season MVPs for a Super Bowl MVP, and I think that's what is important. The quarterbacks like I can say Peyton Manning, one of the greatest to ever do it. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. I did say Peyton Manning. There's so many quarterbacks that have great regular seasons. Put up these tremendous numbers, and when I win all of the in-season awards, but when it comes to the postseason, they are very, very quiet. They don't produce the way they need to produce.
And the other guys, and I'm glad you pointed that because the guys I just named that he's tied with all have a Super Bowl and or a Super Bowl MVP to their name. But it's just so crazy to think that somebody like Lamar Jackson and somebody like Patrick Mahomes, you would think Patrick Mahomes would be the guy that reaches this stat line first. But now we're seeing somebody like Lamar, who has rushing yards, arguably the greatest running quarterback of all time. I say that loosely, but he could be. He could be the greatest rushing quarterback of all time. To see him not only excel on the ground, but also excel in these last 7 weeks in the air and have this stat line, 5 passing touchdowns, it's crazy because Lamar, he's never really had somebody who's been his consistent red zone target this season. He hasn't had one. I can't really say he has. Other seasons, you could say maybe Mark Andrews or he had Hollywood Brown for a season. But right this season, I can't tell you a consistent target. And maybe that is why he is excelling in the passing game. Maybe he's telling himself, hey, I don't have this guy that I can go to when times get tough. Now I have to almost expand my vocabulary and look down the field. No matter who it is, I'm going to throw it to you if you're open. Maybe this is a good thing for Lamar Jackson because now he's thinking to himself, I ain't got this guy anymore. So now I gotta play like an MVP. What do you think about that?
It's not just that, the game is a lot easier for Lamar, we're going to be honest with you, because of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's going to take a lot of that burden off of him by controlling the clock and running the ball. And Derrick Henry at this moment right now is having an all-pro year already. He may break the record in this game, this season. He has a possibility of breaking the record. And, you just applaud him for the way he's competing. But he's going to help Lamar and whatnot. And you want to see Lamar succeed. But it's not that Lamar has to be the MVP. You want to know what Lamar has to be. He just has to be efficient, don't turn the ball over, and lead this team.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Derrick Henry. And I honestly, MJ's going to say this. I wasn't against the Derrick Henry pickup. I was questioning the Derrick Henry pickup in terms of he is almost on that wrong side of 30 where running backs usually digress, and he's not showing it. He's not showing it. I wonder if it's the combination of him and Lamar, but I really applaud the Ravens for doing. But he's only got 1 year, Nate. Does he after this season? Do they keep him there?
Are you talking about
Derrick Henry? Do they keep him there? because
Yes.
his stats are crazy.
Yes. If again, if he's proven that he still has some juice in those legs and a lot of fuel left in that tank, yes. Just let's see how he complements Lamar later on in the season. Let's not ask the question now because it's still too early.
I mean, he's been super efficient though. He has almost 900 yards in 7 games. That's crazy. I mean, he'll break 2K if he keeps going. He'll break 2K. He should easy. And at somebody breaking 2,000 rushing yards at 30 years old.
He might mess around and break Eric Dickerson's record. I mean, he had if he can stay healthy and this team continue to flourish again. Lamar's success and Derek's success are predicated on both of each other's both of each other. The opposing person's success is predicated on that person. So Lamar is having great success, and a lot of that is because Derrick Henry is running the ball very, very well. Derrick is having great success because of the fact that Lamar is still a threat to run the ball.
Now, I want to ask you, even though they had a rushing offense, but it was predominantly Lamar's legs doing the rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you have that aspect of the game, you can say, okay, well, the rushing offense got better in Baltimore. How does bringing in Derrick Henry, establishing a better and more efficient running game, open the possibility for the Ravens making a deep playoff run?
I'm gonna tell you what Derrick Henry does. It's not just opening the running game. He actually opens up the passing game more so. And the reason being is that Derrick Henry is going to force the team to put that eighth man in the box, single high safety. That means you're going to be playing either cover 3 or cover 1 because you don't want to let Derrick control the game. Now, when you run the ball very, very well, you control the clock of the game. You can running the ball is equivalent to body punches in a boxing match and whatnot. So what Derrick does is that he gives you those body blows and whatnot. He's going to pound your defense. No Diddy. He's going to pound the defense and literally going to take off the pressure that's on Lamar. And when Lamar does have to run the ball, he'll run the ball. And the defense won't be expecting it. But when Lamar stands in the pocket and they're not running the ball, it's going to open up the passing game for these guys to take the top off in the passing game. The Mark Andrews is going to have those clear cut over routes and whatnot, those big chunk plays and whatnot. Zay Flowers and if I'm not mistaken, is it Rashad Bateman? Those guys are going to have a field day.
And I love the aspect of you playing football because I don't watch a lot of Ravens football, but I could not have told you what you just told me. But now that you said it, it makes 100% sense because now you have one guy in that third level having to be responsible for anything in that third level. You've doubled his responsibilities now by having somebody like Derrick Henry on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I good job, man. I'm glad you brought that up. That was some veteran knowledge right there. But we've talked about Lamar, if he wins a Super Bowl, probably becoming the greatest rushing quarterback. I mean, that would stand him apart, right? What are the chances? Do you see the Ravens in the Super Bowl this season?
I mean, we've said that over the years that the Ravens are going to be in the Super Bowl this year, the year before, and whatnot. But they've always ran into a team, whether it was Kansas City or something like that. Again, that beats them. Really, they run into a team that makes them one-dimensional. And the Ravens, years prior, in my opinion, years prior, the Ravens were a team that played good when they were ahead, very much like the Dallas Cowboys. They weren't a team that can actually play good from behind and come back. When they're ahead, they can, again, you see this team is just flourishing. The offense is having fun, creating big plays. Lamar's out there doing his thing. You love it. But when this offense is playing from behind, that's when, adversity is there and present, that's when you see them falter a little bit. and crack when the pressure is a little tight.
So if we see the Ravens in the Super Bowl, who are we coupling them with on the NFC side? Ravens and who in the Super Bowl, Nate?
Mm, you know what? I really don't like these predictions, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you one.
It doesn't have to be like your set in stone prediction, but if the Ravens happen to make the Super Bowl, who's the guy that has to play them?
I'm not gonna say Minnesota. I'm gonna say Detroit.